I'm Annie, and in this video I will talk a little bit about this magnificent pulp magazine, Twisted Pulp. And why am I talking about this magazine? It is a modern pulp magazine. Yes, pulp magazines are still being published. Link to all of the recently published pulp magazines in the link in the description box below. But why am I concentrating on modern pulp in July? Well, it is because I can't wait for August, and August it is GarbAugust. This is a fun reading event where we celebrate all kinds of pulpy fiction and trashy novels, magazines, short stories, and what have you, but also watch pulp films, as long as it's brainless entertainment and we enjoy it. We definitely do not look down upon it. By the way, GarbAugust is organized and is the brainchild of Olly over at CriminOlly. All of the co-hosts are in the description box below, and I am honored to be one of the co-hosts. So I have this modern pulp recommendation for you, because this is just an excellent magazine. I enjoyed it very much. All of the short stories in this magazine I enjoyed. I don't think they are all just perfect. But there are not only short stories and serials in this issue of Twisted Pulp, which I bought for the cover, by the way, because this is a bit of an old issue, but you can still order this back issue if you like. But there are also articles in it, and there are also interviews in it. So I liked every short story in this issue. So let's talk a little bit about these short stories. A Life of Sacrifice by Chauncey Haworth. Start out with these two men, Chuckles and Full Pint. Well, Full Pint used to be Half Pint, but he gained a little bit of weight and now he is Full Pint. And these two characters, I think they are somewhere in their mid-20s, and they never amounted to anything. They come across as a bit of, well, two losers. But they live in this cheap apartment, and they occupy themselves with looking out of the window, drinking beer, eating chips and fantasizing about things. But things change when they see a car accident. And here is where the story really starts to pick up pace. And things get really fun. There is suspense in it, there is horror in it, the characters are very well developed. This is really a short story with action and horror in it, and I think it's very well written. Incident at a Diner by Chris Miller I found equally excellent. It has a real 1940s noir feel to it, although it's set in the present time. Sam is meeting his girlfriend at this diner, but his wife doesn't know. The other people in this diner, or a couple of them, also play an important part in this story. Some of them have typical ordinary problems where they talk about, but two men seem out of place. And this, these two men have their own worries, but Sam is just trying to have dinner with this trying to have a meal with his girlfriend and is trying his best to ignore his wife's messages on his mobile phone. Miller is absolutely brilliant in building up the tension and adding suspense, and this suspenseful elements in his stories. The suspense builds up to a roaring and excellent climax. This is the favorite story, my favorite story in this issue of Twisted Pulp. Mi Hermano by Tyson Blue is a modern detective about an environmental crime. It's a solid and good story, I think. So I have this story entertained me very, very much, although it gets a little bit silly at times, but hey, that's what I love about pulp short stories, that they get a little bit silly at times. Then there is the start of a serial, The Forest God by Rex Mundy. It's set in, I think, somewhere right before 1914, I think, if I'm guessing correctly. The First World War hasn't started yet, and it is about these two men who have deserted from the army, and this is the Foreign Legion, and they are in the African jungle, they are in Africa, and they meet all kinds of people, not only the original African inhabitants of Africa, but also some people who have colonized parts of Africa, like the Germans. These two men are, I think they are British, but I'm not really confident about this statement. Anyway, I like the writing style very much. It's a really promising first episode in a serial that has suspense, it has horror, it has a quite good character development, so I like that very much. But there's not only a serial in it and short stories in it, there is also regular articles in it. And I found the article about this radio show Escape. I found this the best article in it because was really informative, I found anyway. So that was really interesting to read about old-fashioned radio show. Then there are interviews in it, and I'm sorry to say that these interviews are a bit of a weak point in this magazine, because I don't think they are very good. They could have been better. There are interesting answers to the question in these articles. I must admit that. But the questions, these interviews are written question answer, and the questions aren't that good. Like, I'm not a star reporter myself, I must admit, but these questions that are asked are closed questions, and you have to ask open questions. And this means a closed question is a question where somebody could answer yes or no, or give a short answer. An open question invites the person who is being interviewed to give a more, elaborate answer to the question. Now, I don't think this has to be a problem. You can cover this easily up. I'm like I said, I'm not a star reporter myself, and I often ask questions if I have to interview people. I could have done a better job at asking questions myself, but I tried to cover this up by leaving out the questions and just writing. Well, I did interview people for a very small television program, and what I did in editing, I did edit it myself. I just left out the questions and made it one ongoing video. So you can also do this in a written interview. You can write it and edit out the questions and write a regular article. So you can cover this up so nobody notices that you don't know how to interview people. And yeah, I found this a bit of a weak point in this magazine. It's editing out the questions and writing a regular article. It takes a little bit more effort, but it looks so much more professional, in my opinion, if you don't show your weak points in the interview. But all in all, I can highly recommend Twisted Pulp, especially this issue. There is, by the way, also an interview in it with the illustrator of the cover of this magazine, and she is absolutely a wonderful illustrator in my opinion. Now, are you going to participate in a GarbAugust? I do love to know if you are enjoying yourself with some either modern pulp or some vintage pulp fiction, or if you are only going to watch pulpy films and trashy films, that's okay too. The announcement video, I will put a link to the announcement video in the description box below. Well, do let me know your reading plans.